We're the Trillbillies, Tom,
Tarence.
and here we are at Black Mountain, the highest point in Kentucky.
Elevation, 4,145 feet above sea level. This is the Appalachian mountain range.
The artist formerly known as Pangea.
We took something that was millions and millions of years old, and we turned it into this. In just a matter of a couple years. That is the power of capitalism, folks. That is the power of industry. We took the oldest mountain chain in the world and
turned it to dust, rubble.
This is behind us right here is the Lenny Ridge mine. It's a ridge off of Black Mountain that has been mined by a process called mountaintop removal.
Mountaintop removal is, of course, the act of using explosives to blow the tops off of mountains to get to the coal seams underneath. When you wake up in the morning and you roll over and you look at your iPhone and you turn your lights on and you go to brush your teeth.
Charge your dildo.
Charge your dildo.
It all comes from this.
It all comes from this, baby.
You know, in the 70s, the late 70s, early 80s, they passed legislation to regulate strip mining because people were experiencing all kinds of floods and landslides. And so it's actually kind of ironic, like the coal industry sort of, found a clever way to get around that legislation to put even more people out of jobs.
And so since the 70s, roughly, coal productions went up by like 400%, while coal jobs have just plummeted.
This kind of land will just be completely useless from here on out. There's been a lot of research that says that people living near these sites are at higher risk of all kinds of cancers, birth defects, things of that nature.
Water table's been destroyed, I think, is sort of an obvious thing. If you look at what's going on in Martin County, Kentucky, not too far from here, they're in the throes of full-blown, like, Flint-esque water crisis. The Clean Air and Water Act has never been meaningfully enforced in the coal states. So when our liberal friends will say something like, well, that's why we need to get Democrats in office, or that's why that Obama was so good on climate, or whatever, and it's just smoke and mirrors. It's none of it true.
Mining at this site was going on under Obama.
Even the remedies to it are all centered around what can we do with these lands that have sort of been bombed out and depleted. What can we build on them to squeeze even more capital out of it? And of course the answer we get here is prisons.
In a capitalist economy, all the sort of productive capacity of that society is put towards the sort of unending creation of capital and the sort of funneling of that to the people at the top of it. Which means that any regulatory agency or law that exists is just an obstacle to that process, and therefore creates loopholes that you have to get around. And mountaintop removal is actually the best example of that. Like we said, regulations were put in place in the late 70s, early 80s to curb some of the worst effects of strip mining. And then what do you get 15, 20 minutes later? You get this. And this wasn't happening in the 70s. Like, this happened in the late 90s, early 2000s. Years and years after the Clean Water Act, after the Surface Mine Controlled Reclamation Act. So this is, this is what regulations and laws do.
It's innovation, baby.
Yeah, this is innovation. Right, exactly. Regulatory agencies in general exist specifically to facilitate business. That's the whole point. It's not to actually protect people or public health. For example, if really wealthy people were living in this valley right beneath here, you can guarantee it that there would not be a mine right here.
A common refrain during 2016, I think, that really broke all of our brains was that institutions can't save us. And that's absolutely correct.
Yeah, nobody has your best interest at heart. They will absolutely destroy the environment and everything around you to make sure that profit and resources are continually flowing, continually being channeled upwards to the people at the top.
We're the Trillbillies, and this has been the 2019 Destruction Tour.
No one's gonna save you, folks. No one has your best interests at heart. We're fucked.
Tired of living in a crawl space for $1,600 a month. Come here.
Yeah, bohemians in New York and Brooklyn, we've got plenty of space.
Kicking pumps galore, I love your shade head even more. Leave your Doc Martens by the door. Listening to Joji while our feelings hit the floor.